Hey everybody, PJ Riley, Lancaster Archery. We are here, I think it was 9 years ago, we did a video, how to shoot a deer out of a tree stand. Hi folks, this is PJ Riley from Lancaster Archery Supply. What we're gonna do today is show you the effects of shooting at a deer from a tree stand. 10 yards out. This is pretty steep. I needed a much steeper angle. That's actually how the arrow hit. If you want to learn about angles shooting from a tree, go to that one. But today we're going to talk about how to shoot at a deer from a saddle. If you're like me and you have hunted from tree stands all your life, switching to saddle, it takes some getting used to. There's a lot of things that you've learned your whole life as a tree stand hunter that you kind of have to unlearn as a saddle hunter or get used to. So we're gonna run through that, how to shoot at a deer from a saddle setup. And before we show you that, what I'll say is it's a good idea if you just take your stuff out, set it up and practice. I know that's kind of a pain to go through all those motions, but there are so many things that are different and nuanced about saddle hunting and shooting from a saddle that better you learn it, somewhere in a practice setting than in the woods on a real hunt. All right, let's get up in the tree. And yeah, there we are. All right, so first thing with saddle hunting is when I set this up, I'm a right-handed shooter. My intention is that my main shooting direction is going to be 180 degrees this way. I can shoot the other way, but when I set it up, I'm planning for a shot in here. Also, when I set up, I'm a right-handed shooter. You got to think about where you're going to put your gear. So my bow is hanging right here. So when it comes time to shoot, I'm ready to go just like that. All right, so now I'm going to take a shot. This is my main direction. And another thing if you're coming from tree stands, the other thing you have to think about is you have to trust your ropes. I am not holding on. I know as a longtime tree stand hunter, this is counterintuitive to what we used to do. You never leaned back out of the stand. You always had your hand on something. With saddle hunting, you have to trust the rope. So I'm just gonna hook up here and take my shot at a deer that's about 20 yards away. Dead deer. Another shot, this is what I'm gonna say is probably the most challenging for a tree stand hunter shifting to a saddle hunter. So is gonna be shooting this direction right here. Because the way you get stability, this is not a very stable position. I'm actually leaning into my ropes, which means I am leaning off away from the tree. Again, for a tree stand hunter, that's the last thing we were ever taught to do, but you gotta trust these ropes are gonna hold. But when I push into these ropes, now I have stability. If I try and balance, I'm kind of moving all over the place. So let me just show you what that looks like to make a good shot. Dead deer again. Again, pushing into the ropes, that keeps me stable, allows me to make a good shot. All right, now something that I like to do for shots in this quadrant here, get you a super stable position, is I'm actually gonna lower my tether a little bit. I'm gonna give it some slack so that I can come in and set my knees against the tree. And that there gives me, man, I just am rock solid. Center 11 again. So that might be the most solid position, is shooting in this direction. For me, I think. I'm just balanced on every position. All right, so with the saddle, we still want to be able to shoot 360 degrees, and this is my right-hand side. I'm a right-hand shooter. This is my off side. This potentially is the most awkward. There's many ways that people account for that. I'm gonna show you how I do it. And what I'm actually gonna do is lengthen my tether. I'm gonna turn around in this platform. And at the end, what's gonna happen is this tether is gonna come across my chest. So it's gonna hold me against the tree to keep me from falling. Here's what that looks like. Okay, you can see my tether right here is across my chest. It's holding me in the tree. And so to take my shot, this is actually a very I mean, this, to most tree stand hunters, this should feel the most natural. These deer don't stand a chance, man. All right, so obviously shooting this direction requires the most movement by me. So if I'm expecting a deer's gonna come down here and I have to shoot this way, I'm gonna move plenty early. I'm not waiting until the deer's right there to spin around. I'm gonna get in this position well ahead of time.